So we've been gone a while, and so I thought I'd take this opportunity to tell you where we've been, how we got into forging, and why in a shop filled with some pretty cool tools at our disposal, we choose to show you how to whale away on a little chunk of steel like this right here. So let's go where we were. Let's knock that out first. Hurricane Helene hits North Carolina September 27th, 2024. Our shop's here in Shelby, North Carolina. Our power was out for several days. We ended up loading up from our house and driving across town, and we camped out in our shop with our family of 7. It was actually pretty cool for us. It brought us closer as a family, and it was nice to have that time. We had campfires and watched movies on a projector out back, and we cooked meals on the grill and hung out around here all day long. It was a pretty nice silver lining to everything. We had a bunch of trees down and power out in a lot of the town. It wasn't near as bad as it was in Swananoa, North Carolina, where Mom and Dad were, where I grew up. That Sunday afternoon, our power gets turned back on, and we're slowly starting to realize just the magnitude of the devastation up there. I called Vicky. I said, hey, I want to go up. I want to help. I want to feed people. I just want to be there. I want to help some people that needed it. We'll just go set up and we'll go help. Vicky said it's all or nothing deal. Vicky was right. So we went.
You want dog? You're most welcome. Oh, no problem. You'll...
We planned on spending a couple days up there, just trying to help out where we could and how we could, taking in supplies. Our church quickly found out what we were doing and told us to come by and load up on some supplies that our members had brought in. Our pastoral team helped us load up some supplies to take up to the mountains, and they asked, how are you funding this thing? So we were just paying for it. Our pastoral team handed us a card, said go get what they need. They didn't say spend this dollar amount, they said go get what they need.
Thank y'all, I appreciate it.
Yeah, let's say a prayer for you.
Oh, that's great.
Lord, we just come before you and thank you that Ben was able to get through yesterday, especially link up with his family, Lord. That means a tremendous amount for him and for them. So pray for this community, and Lord, I pray that as people start to come in, they can get the help that they need, and I pray in a small way we can be like the cavalry coming in for them in this coming week, Lord. We're praying all sorts of stuff, on Monday. So just Father, be with these people, be with them at night especially, and may they find strength in your presence and your Holy Spirit. Amen.
That's what it means to be in the church.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you so much.
all right, man. Love you, brother.
Love y'all. Appreciate y'all.
And Cam.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to our church for stepping up that way. They also became a hub and started receiving truckloads of supplies from other states to shuttle into Chimney Rock, Burnsville, and Swananoa and the surrounding towns in western North Carolina. Really proud of how just awesome our church did. They're pretty amazing. So we planned on only being a few days, and then friends and family start to reach out to us that continue our mission a little bit further. So what turned into what was going to be a couple of days ends up being about 2 solid weeks.
Hey, baby. Yeah, they're good. They're holding up. Street behind Mama's flooded. Appreciate you, boss. Nothing heavy. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for what you're doing. Yeah, buddy, shut her up. So we just unloaded all that water. Just emptied all this. I got it. Got that pallet, a couple others, and that one. We did. Look at you, stud. Good right there, ties it in. That's good. Two big carts loaded up. And getting ready to get checked out. Happy night. Give me another one. They got. There. Put them in the back seat for the time being so you can grab some dog food and stuff. Yes, sir. Let me hook you up.
I've been hanging out with your mama.
All right, that's Blunt Pretzels. They've been up daylight to dark, feeding people all day. There's First Baptist Church right here, Beacon Village. They've been a hub for supplies. It's the first week we were there every day, driving back and forth from Swannanoa to Gastonia to get some supplies and back in. It was wild. The first night we arrived on that Monday, there was hardly anybody there. There was a few trucks bringing in supplies to the church that we set up next to. They're landing helicopters in the parking lot right next to us. It was a whole lot to take in. By the end of the week, all the helicopters flying over us just became normal. One of the most beautiful things about being able to have that experience that I didn't account for is I got to see a lot of people that I grew up with or might have worked in the warehouse with that I don't get to see that often.
Hey, baby. Good to see you. Thank y'all for coming out.
Thank you.
Hey, Ugly. Hey, Ugly Junior. Oh my gosh. I didn't know the hot iron was out. I would have brought one. The curlers. What is going on here? You do not look your tip top. I'm just kidding. Hey, man, appreciate you coming out. I'm just teasing. That's how I show love.
You know what? I found a cure for cancer. That's sweat.
No, it's sweat. Yep. You ride with me, Grandpa?
Yeah, I guess so.
I need someone to push me out of the ditch if we get stuck.
Dickie, now talking. We're going to make a right out of here.
Okay.
Because if we get down there and the red light's out,
Yeah.
you're going to have to get, if it's backed up, you're going to have to get across.
Yeah, not a problem.
And there seem to be not a whole lot of people.
No, let's do it. Come on.
I'm happy we're here. Yeah. Thanks for helping me, man.
And they were all doing the same thing we were doing and so much more. Many of them have had to dig out mud out of their own houses or shops, and they were out there helping other people. It was the best I've ever seen of humanity. I just saw people helping people. Another thing, as a proud dad, I'm going to beat a drum about just for a second, was we didn't ask our kids if they wanted to go. They just had to go. And they did a tremendous job. My older sons went with me almost every time to get loads and stuff. They were my workhorses. My daughter stepped up in every which way. She was helping out in the trailer as Vicky would hand out things, hold babies whenever we needed to. They were all there. We worked as a team. There was no bickering. There was no fighting.
Play. Two hands. Look at that. And getting ready to get checked out. Happy night. Two hands. Put them in the back seat for the time being so you can grab some dog food and stuff. Did you make a friend? You got some friends? Yep.
Another thing that I loved the most was in the evenings after all the work was done, if we stayed up there with my mom and dad, there was no power, there were no cell phones. So in the evenings we congregated around a campfire and we talked to our friends and our neighbors and play in the backyard. Technology is awesome. I love the world we live in today, but sometimes a little slice of yesterday is pretty awesome too. And to have that moment in time where we weren't stuck to screens, pretty cool.
His sausage. Sausage stuff in her diaper.
That couch was her clothing. Puts it in her shorts. Oh, goodness.
Oh, old man down.
The second week, kids had to go back to school. So Vicky and I took turns at showing stuff in. She'd go in one day, I'd go in the next day. I want to talk about Ingles here for a second also. Our Ingles in Swannanoa, they got flooded. The inside of the store was destroyed. Through a contact, we were able to get produce pretty early in the week and loaded up some produce and took it out to Burnsville. We took it out to a retirement community in Black Mountain. We took a lot to Beacon Village. For several days in a row, they would load our truck up, load our trailer up, and send us on our way. They had a staff in there working around the clock.
Is this okay? Okay.
Need more banana boxes.
Yeah, if you got some more empty boxes, that'd be awesome.
A few more back here, man. I'll grab a load and be back up.
Awesome, brother. Appreciate you. We're going to get dispersed. Thank y'all for being here. You got more? I'll come right back.
If you see some employees in your community from Blingles or Swingles, that's Black Mountain Ingles or Swannanoa Ingles, make a point to be kind to them. It costs you nothing. I was pretty impressed about how hard they were working around the clock trying to get stuff done. I never asked or even thought about maybe the struggles they were dealing with and how they were affected by this storm also, but they still showed up every day. It's kind of one of those behind the scenes things that you might not consider all that often. So we shut down our shop for 2 weeks. We've not done that in ever. And it was our first time since having a little bit of success. in the past decade that we've ever done that. Usually if we go on vacation, we have to prepare for weeks on end and work a whole lot more hours before the vacation and work a whole lot more hours to get caught up when we get back. We're a small business. It's Vicky in the office. She does all our wrapping, handles a lot of our paperwork, computer work, all that stuff for us.
There's our packing queen. There's the backbone of our business.
It's Jason.
This.
Who helps me out in the shop. He does a lot of our cutting, our deburring. Amazing. I'm really grateful to have him. He's been with us for about 2 years now. Myself in the forge. You've got something from us. If you bought something from us on BD Iron, I'm the one that forged it. We don't have a team yet. We're working on that, but I'm still learning. Okay, so you spend some hours getting caught up and then you still no YouTube. Where have you been? Well, that happened in the beginning of September. We finally got caught up towards the end of October, just in time for our holiday rush. We usually work 60 hours in the shop most weeks anyways. That's a pretty average week for us, and I'm okay with that. I like that. It's just what the business demands at this point. When the last 2-3 months of the year roll around, it is wide open. It's our busiest time of the year. Everybody's Christmas shopping, trying to buy something for their loved ones, and we always have great sales that time of the year. We're incredibly grateful for it. It's our priority. It's what feeds our family. It's what helps grow our business. It's where we've had the most success as a blacksmith in my 15 years. So it gets the most attention. During that time, we had some growth. We went from about 600 followers and we're almost up to 1,200 now. It was frustrating to see some of that growth, not because I was ashamed. 1,200 is really small for YouTube still. I get that. I think it's awesome. But I was really frustrated because I wanted to deliver more to you. It's just the time didn't allow it. We're still young to YouTube and I'm still trying to figure out a schedule. I'm working on it. We're going to get better at it. So let me tell you a little bit about my blacksmith journey. I played college football at Western Carolina University from 2005 to 2008. Number 71, Ben Davies. Goofball, look at this guy. Blew out my knee twice while I was there. That's part of it. I was an offensive lineman. I blew out my same knee twice at the beginning of my senior season. I was able to make it through the rest of the season, but after that, football was done with me. If I couldn't play anymore, I didn't really want any involvement for football. I was lost for the first time in my life. I experienced depression. I had no idea what it was. It crept up on me like a thief in the night. Depression for me was like a fog. It was just every day was the same. I had no ambition. I had no drive. I didn't want to get up off the couch. I'd go to work. I'd come home. We'd eat. I'd watch a lot of TV. Didn't want to leave the house. My mom saw it. We came home one weekend and she could just see it plain as day on my face and said, "You need to get your tail out of that. You're depressed." I didn't know what it was, like I said. And it was really a wake-up call for me. I started going full-time at the warehouse I'd been at and worked part-time through college and got into picking groceries as Vicky and I are starting a family. We live in Cullowhee for just a little bit longer, and by the time our first child is born, we moved to Shelby, North Carolina. And we buy our first house. Vicky finishes up with her student teaching. Vicky and I really like the idea of her staying at home, being a stay-at-home mama. So we made that work. I'd work 4 days a week in a warehouse, 75 miles away. She would stay at home with the babies. It was tight. We struggled to make ends meet. I think a lot of young families experience that. There wasn't a whole lot of money for going out to buy anvils and blacksmith tools. By this time, I'd already had a few classes. When I was going through my fog, I was lucky enough to make a friend in my old neighborhood where I grew up, Bob. Bob's a Vietnam vet, and he would let me come and work on projects. He would teach me how to do leather work. He taught me how to do wood carving. And then I noticed he was starting to make knife sheaths for these handmade knives, which is pretty cool. I said, "Hey, Bob, you should teach me that too." He was just starting to get a little blacksmith set up himself. He says, "Well, I could, but I think you'd be better served by taking a few classes under this instructor named David." David taught at Haywood Community College. David was a brilliant instructor. I'm not a classroom person. I sat in 6 weeks of classes with David, one night a week, 6 weeks, for 3 hours, and I was captivated the entire time. Learned a lot from him. I was lucky and blessed enough that my aunt and uncle found out I was getting into the trade, and they supplied me with an anvil, a vise, and a blower. I didn't have money for a forge yet, so I'd come at home every day and I would stare at that anvil. Couldn't wait till I could get a forge. About a year later, I figured out I could forge out of a burn barrel. I would get a burn barrel hot enough that the little holes that you poke in the bottom of a burn barrel so it can breathe, I would shove metal in there and I would make some things. I was really excited. One of the first things that I made was this little letter opener right here. It's so ugly, so crude. It's where I started. It's how I started. And I started forging things out of that barrel fire. I'd burn out. We had an old rotten barn that's still standing today. I'd pull that rotten wood out of it and I'd put it in there, burn it off, and that would be my fuel. It was hard. I made enough money to pay the bills, and we could do things every now and then with the kids. That was my priority. That was most important to me in life. But we didn't have any money for excessive spending, or what is it? We didn't have any real disposable income. My mom buys me a Ford that year for my birthday. I think we're around 2012 at that point. It was awesome. Thank you, Mom. It's one of the best gifts I've ever received. And a few months later, when it starts to cool off in the fall, I go to my Uncle Danny's. He teaches me a lot of things that really set me ahead also. He teaches me about making some smaller items that I can make money with pretty quickly, that I don't need power hammers to forge, because my goodness, that was definitely not in the budget if I couldn't afford to forge. So I come back home from there, and my mom calls and says, hey, signed you up for a show at Owen Middle School, where I grew up. It's in December. You need to make some items. I got really excited thinking maybe someday somebody might want to buy something off of me. That'd be really cool to sell something here and there. And I had no concept of, hey, you could maybe make some money off of this. So we went to the craft show. I had to share a booth with my mom. I had a little table and a display I made. I don't have any pictures of that first show, but here I am as a young wee little Bobby. Woo, look at that fur ball. Anyway, I made $500 at that first show. That was a lot of money to me at the time. I was shocked. And all I had to sell were hooks, toilet paper holders, paper towel holders, and some letter openers. That was it. Mom was nice enough to work shows with me. So Vicki and I started signing up for shows the following spring, and we started doing shows full time. Mom would show up at shows, and her having run her own business for 30 years now, was able to teach me how to talk to people. By that point, I was in a production mindset. I worked in a grocery warehouse where I got paid a whopping 8 cents per case to pick groceries. So the more cases you picked an hour, the more you made per hour. And that was my mindset. I didn't go to work to talk to people or make friends. I had one or two I was pretty close with, but the rest of them I wasn't there to be friendly with. Not when I could be making money to feed our family. So I'd kind of lost that skill of talking to people. It was uncomfortable. It was awkward for me, but Mom would show up and she would teach me and we would practice. She was brilliant. My dad would show up and help me unpack at shows. Can't tell you how many times he fixed my broke down cars on the side of the road going to and from a show. Thanks, Dad. And Vicki was always trying to make sure that we got signed up for shows, getting our pictures in while raising our children at home. Truly blessed. Had a lot of help along the way. 2016, we buy our first power hammer. That's my dad and Peanut right there. They went with me to get the first power hammer. Pretty cool experience. So grateful. A year later, I quit my job at the warehouse. I think I'm ready to go full time. Vicki's agreed to take a job teaching so we can have a bit of a safety net, if you will, and I can chase this dream. I think I've got it all figured out. I know nothing. We had nothing saved up. It was very much a burn the ships mentality, which I didn't know at the time. It was just a careless, driven, some may call it dumb way to start a business. Very hard. The next 2 to 3 years we struggle. It is hand-to-mouth living. It's scary. It is uncomfortable. It is stressful. It is go to this show and you better sell these things so you can pay this mortgage. It was terrifying. I never saw light at the end of the tunnel. 2020 comes around and affects the world in much worse ways than it affected me. But it shut down all our shows and I didn't know what we were going to do. I felt like we were finally getting to the point where we were figuring things out. We picked out some shows that we thought we could be successful at, and then it's gone. I made a few roasting sticks, and I would advertise those on Facebook just to show people what I made for our kids in the backyard to do, since most of the world was shut down, and we actually put some on Etsy because we had some requests. I thought, oh, that's kind of cool, and just kind of thought it was a one-time thing. I slowly started to have customers and clients reach out to me, and they wanted some custom projects. Here are some of the custom projects we executed during 2020. Incredibly grateful for those projects. If you were one of those people we executed a project for, if you bought some of those roasting sticks off us during 2020, you kept our lights on and food on the table. By fall of that year, 2020, the jobs were drying up. I had no idea if there was going to be any shows on the horizon with all the fall shows canceled. I told Vicki I think I need to go back to work and take a third shift warehouse job. That way I could still stay at home with our youngest during the day, Peanut, and she could still teach. Vicki said no. Couldn't understand it. She wouldn't let me give up. She wouldn't let me get off the ride too early. She wouldn't let me quit on myself. Vicky's always a tremendous blessing about believing in myself whenever I was like, am I making the right choices? Maybe not everybody, but I question and doubt everything I do along the way, making sure I'm trying to make the best decisions collectively for our family and our business, because that's my priority. Well, I had some leftover half-inch square bar from a welded rail that we had done previously. I was like, I'll make some fire pokers and a few things, and we'll put them on Etsy and see if they do well. I've sold a few things on Etsy this year. Maybe we'll have some luck with it. We started to have a few sales. Next day, we have a few more. Next thing I know, we're having anywhere from 10 to 30 sales a day. We know nothing about shipping. We know nothing about getting boxes. We know nothing about third-party labels. We just know that opportunities come, and we're going to lean into this thing. It demanded every hour of our day for the next 2 months. I worked till 1:30 and 2:30 in the morning most days trying to crank out pokers. I remember starting on a batch of 30 fire pokers at 10 o'clock at night and not going into the house until they were done because they needed to go out the next day. It was huge. Vicky would come home at the end of each day after having ran the kids everywhere, doing all the things around the house, cooking supper for everybody, and then she'd start wrapping packages. And she'd wrap packages until she'd fall asleep in the office at night. She worked so incredibly hard for us. Vicky's always been a rock. She's always been awesome. For the first time as a married couple, Vicky and I were able to get out of debt a little bit and able to get ahead. It was the first time we could actually financially breathe in a decade. And we get through the end of December, still having decent sales, and we thought, well, that was a nice little run. What a nice blessing. Hopefully we can afford to sign up for some shows as they open in 2021. January came around. We kept having sales. February, March, April, and it just continued. That year we signed up for every show we could, and we said yes to every custom commission. It was more stressful than the year before because I was so terrified of going backwards that we took on way too much. These days we mainly focus on e-commerce, and we sell most of our wares online. I'm grateful for this life because not only do I get to do something I love every day that I didn't know it would ever become true, but it's allowed me to spend time with my family and step away from shows. Shows are a lot of work. They're very hard. They're really exhausting. You start early in the morning, you don't break down till later in the afternoon, and you're driving home. They're usually 16, 18-hour days if you're driving one way, because a lot of people, when they do shows, they try to do it in one day so they don't have to cut into their cost, or they'll drive up the night before and find a place they can sleep in their van. It's hard. There's no other way around it, but it's also a great way to start getting some side income. Okay, so you had a pretty hard journey. It's a pretty cool shop we have. Our shop's filled with more tools than I ever could have imagined starting out. It is way bigger than what I'd ever dreamt. I'm incredibly grateful that I get to come in here and work every day. It's still unbelievable to me. Maybe that's not such a great word. It still blows my mind every day that I get to come here and work in this shop. Incredibly grateful. I'm incredibly blessed. We've got a big hydraulic press over here in the corner that we bought a couple years ago and we just got running. We've got these 2 power hammers right here. I would sit and imagine how cool it would be just to have 1 power hammer. I never imagined we'd have 2 power hammers. Those come in pretty handy. They get used a lot, and sometimes we'll have one down for a day for servicing, so it's awesome to have the other one as a backup. And sometimes we'll go back and forth in between them. We've got a big plasma table back here, 5x10. My dream was like one of those little 2x2 tables. I thought how cool it would be to have one of those. If I was you, I'd ask, why aren't you showing us projects on those? It's easy to sit down and press record doing projects on there, and it's really fun, and we do that for our business. But the name of our channel is Maker's Journey Workshop. So when I had the idea for this YouTube channel last summer, something I've wanted to do for a while, I think it's pretty cool, people sharing their talents and gifts in the world. Not one of the things that we thought real hard about was what we would have to offer that would be special or different than maybe some other blacksmith channels. And I started staring at this chunk of metal that I'd bought a few years back at a blacksmith meet. And I thought, how cool would it be to start a blacksmith channel, a YouTube channel, where we show people how to make some pretty cool things with some pretty rudiment tools on a shoestring budget. Maybe everybody's uncle didn't give them an anvil. Maybe everybody's mom didn't buy them a forge for their birthday. I know my mom starting her business out had it much harder, a lot less support, with 2 kids by herself, just having moved back to America. She put herself through cosmetology school and started her own business by sitting in a shop 12 hours a day, waiting for somebody to come in just so they could do her nails. It was a long time before she was able to gain any success either, and there wasn't a blueprint for it. Luckily, I had her, I had my wife, and friends and family along the way. I've been pretty blessed. I thought about all the steps that I've had along the way and how maybe helpful that would be to someone like myself who started out years ago, if maybe they could see something along the way. So we're starting out on this little anvil. We're gonna grow, and we're gonna show you how to implement some tools along the way in a way that we would if we had to do it all over again. Forge setup for Maker's Journey Workshop will get bigger. It will grow. We'll show you some projects and some techniques. Hopefully, if you just enjoy forging, you can do some of this at home. Maybe you're wanting to make a business out of it yourself. I'm gonna share what's worked for Vicky and I and how we've been able to carve out a living, something we enjoy every day that allows us some freedom combined with a lot of hard work. And to me, that seems pretty valuable. One of the biggest things that I will ask of you is make mistakes quicker and don't be afraid to fail. I've learned everything I know from failing and failing a lot. It is embarrassing, it is uncomfortable, it is frustrating, it is a terrible feeling. I still fail on things to this day that just make me feel like a scalded little kindergarten boy. But I get back up and I try again. And I think that's what you have to do. So whatever you're gonna do, be willing to fail. Be willing to fail a lot until you get it right, okay? Really just kind of hit some bullet points of our journey along the way. I hope you find this helpful. We've missed y'all like crazy. I'm so extremely excited to be making videos again and working on our schedule for this year. We're still very young to YouTube. Only started 6 months ago. And we're still trying to figure out a schedule and a routine. Thank you so much for sticking with us. If you joined us in the past couple months and wondered, hey, where's this guy been? We're back. Missed y'all. Looking forward to some projects. If you hadn't checked it out yet and you got Valentine's Day right around the corner, check out this little rose we make right here. That might be a good gift for your loved one. Probably better than the, construction card you used to make for them when you were a kid. All right. Thank y'all. Smash that subscribe button. It's too soon? Who cares? Thank y'all for being here.